Hey guys, what's up? Happy Friday. Um, this is Ask Me Anything Friday. So, ask me anything as long as it's family friendly and you're not, looking for free therapy. I'm not offering free therapy and I'm not answering inappropriate questions. Family friendly only. Family friendly, which means ad friendly. That's why I want it to be family friendly because it has to be ad friendly. Also, because I don't want to deal with trolls. So, yeah. But yeah, feel free to ask me whatever. While I sip on this Mountain Blue Baja Blast. I believe it's the first time I tried it. I know they have it at Taco Bell, but I don't remember if I ever tried it at Taco Bell or not because I really don't like soda. But it came free with the thing I ordered from the supermarket. So if it comes for free, I may as well take it. Pause. But do you think the Raptors? Well, you just jump right into it, don't you, Robin? Well, hello again. I'm Just A Contrarian. Since I think this is the first time you've been here, um, to answer your question, do I think the Rapture is imminent? No, I think that's complete fiction, and I'm not trying to crap on anyone's religious beliefs. But if you want my honest opinion, I think it's a bit of fiction. I think if it were going to happen, it would have happened at the end of the Holy Roman Empire, because back then, to the writers of the Bible, the fall of the Roman Empire would have been a uh, a sign of the times that the world was ending as they knew it. And as we see, you know, over 1,000 years later, it wasn't the end of the world. So I think the rapture is pure fiction. It does on its face, it taken outside of a religious, deeply embedded religious and historical context, you will see that stories like the rapture are just patently absurd. So yeah, that's my answer to that. But thank you for jumping into like a serious question right off the break. Um, Robin says I've been having open visions and dreams about it since childhood, and it's all coming true. Eh, I don't see how you think that's well. I mean, again, not crapping on your beliefs, but I don't understand how you would see that's coming true when we live in the safest of times. When you look at if you look at the history of violence, you can see a trajectory, and you plot it on a graph. You can see the trajectory of history of violence going in a downward slope. Now, there's been times where it's peaked a little, so it's peaked during times like World War I, World War II. Um, those were massive spikes. Then there was a little spike around the 80s and 90s because of all the um, violence in uh, American cities, as well as um, geopolitical things that were going on across the world. But even with those peaks, overwhelmingly, it's been a downward slope. If you look at the history of violence and and all forms of violence, violent crime has gone down, sexual crime has gone down, property crime has gone down, quality of life crime has gone down. All those things have gone down for thousands of years when it was when it was at its um, when it was at its apex uh, during um, when it came to the history of pre modern humans. That was the apex. That was the apex of violence, where to describe things like the philosopher Jeremy Bentham did, life was short, nasty, and brutish. Like we were in that era of pre-modern pre-modern civilization. Um, there was like unending tribal warfare. So Things didn't get much better though when you started forming chiefdoms and kingdoms, uh, feudal empires, and then even nation states. Like, still pretty freaking violent. I mean, but things have gone steadily down. So I don't know how people would think we're dealing with the rapture in the safest era of human history. The only reason people think that's because they have a wider. We now get much more dilute information overload, and so if you want to seek out the worst things, the worst events happening across the world is easily readable online. But just know that you're cherry picking that stuff because there's a news bias to crime. Like, crime makes good news, whereas most things that happen on a daily aren't newsworthy. No, it's not newsworthy to say here on Main Street, nothing happened. Neighbors were nice to each other. People went to school and went to work and came home and ate dinner and nothing happened. That's not newsworthy. So, anyway, uh, Robin says, I understand. I guess we shall see. Keep having open visions about it while awake, as well as prophetic utterances by the Holy Spirit. You might want to consider counseling, and I'm not trying to be funny, but might want to consider counseling because that's not normal to be obsessed with the apocalypse. that's not that's not a normal thing for people to have obsessive thoughts about. And thanks for giving me your feedback. No problem. What's up, Carrot? Aces says bro has a signed copy of the Bible. Um, I don't know if you're referring to me or making aspersions to me being old, but no, it's just that I actually read things. I've actually read the Bible from cover to cover, as well as the Quran. Although that's hard to read from cover to cover because it reads more like poetry. It doesn't really read like it does. Um, Parts of the Bible are poetic, but most of it reads um, as homilies, as like more like homilies than as poetry. The Quran is written in a very sing song way and poetic way, right? What's up, Carlton? I was supposed to have Micah on today, but I'm gonna do that tomorrow because she said she was still on her way home from work, and I'm already tired. I'm not gonna stay up. Like, I wanted to go to bed already, so I told her because I want her to come on here and thank you and and the other folks who donated to me to give to her because I gave it to her today. Pause. Well, no, that's not a pause, but I'm married, so you know what I mean. But yeah, I gave her the money because my YouTube money came in. So the donations that you and other people gave me, I was able to give to her today, um, via the Gcash. Gcash is like the Cash App of the Philippines because you can't use Cash App over there. Cash App can only be used here and in Canada, I believe. So we have to use Gcash. So there are apps here that you can use that you can send money to people overseas, like in the Philippines, through Gcash and other methods that they use, because a lot of those financial services in those other places don't take American debit and credit cards. So in order to be able to, you know, to transcend money either to or fro, usually it's going to take like a third party app like Sendwave or Remitly something like that. Or you can use the old fashioned ones like MoneyGram and the others, but MoneyGram and those other ones usually take like a little percentage out where SendWave and Remitly won't won't charge you for it. So bro watches Jurassic Park to relive his glory days. You're really straining to try to roast me. You're a clown, and I mean, your mother didn't have anything. She didn't mind the old dick. She loved it. She still loves it. She likes it in all her holes. Used to do it while you were in the cradle. Used to shut you up after you saw me giving her the pipe. Acer, might want to shut up. He said during that time they had YNs too. Right, Carlton. You talk about like well, something about like ancient times. Yeah, man. I mean, it was a brutal time. So it's always funny when people talk about how dangerous it is today. I'm like, follow the like a lot of people have said, follow the trend lines, not the headlines. Yes, if you follow headline news, it always seems like the world is going to hell in a handbasket. But if you look at the statistical trend lines of violence over the centuries, it's gone down. Like you can look, there's literal books and research reports out there that will confirm what I'm saying. So people don't have to take my word for it. I would never, because I always speak from a factual standpoint when it comes to stuff like this. You can always fact check me on things because I know that being someone who's a behavioral research nerd, you can anything I say to you guys can be confirmed, right? So people can go to Steven Pinker's book, The Better Angels of Our Nature. That that's a source of that's a source of evidence right there. He wrote a follow-up book, um, Enlightenment Now. I think it's called Enlightenment Now. That shows how um, contemporary society is based on the virtues of the age of reason and European Enlightenment, right? And how because of that we've gotten to the point where we are now. Then he wrote an older book about 25 years ago called The Blank Slate. And you don't just have to go to Steven Pinker. You can also go to another one, Jared Diamond, who's a biogeographer who wrote Gun, Germs, and Steel, The History of How the West Conquered the World, that talks about it. Again, and you can go to actual research reports, like you can go to academic databases to look up this sort of stuff. Uh, a really good one is like JSTOR, JSTOR. So I can back up anything I say factually with evidence that people can then independently verify for themselves. So yeah, it was yeah. But getting back to your point, yeah, I mean, ancient times were replete with YNs. That's what we're gonna call it. Um, Robin says my grandparents that raised me from age 10 were black evangelists to Germany. Interesting. She said, Robin says, I don't know the gender here, so I'm just saying Robin because I don't want to misgender anyone. Plus, Robin is a unisex name, so that can be either or. But Robin says, I don't seek it out. The Holy Spirit spoke through me. Then I noticed the news. It shocked me. Yeah, again, not poo pooing on your beliefs, but again, taken outside of a religious context, that would sound insane. Like, if someone was saying, like, there's a lot of schizotypes. I'm not saying you are one. Not. I'm not casting any aspersions on you, but there are a lot of folks um, within this within the schizotypal spectrum that, that often think that there's a voice talking to them. That's usually like when someone says they hear a voice talking to them, that's usually a clear sign that that person is mentally unstable. Again, not saying that you do. You might be talking. I'm going to assume out of I'm going to be charitable and assume that when you're saying that the Holy Spirit speaks through you, that you're I'm going to assume that you're speaking metaphorically and not literally. So, Robin says, I have been in counseling. Yeah, well, that's a good thing. He said, thank you for talking to me, and no problem at all. Robin says, uh, I was a visiting, victim. I was a victim of child SA and have, well, not, well, child abuse and have been brain damaged because of it. I'm sorry to hear that. A lot of us have been victims as kids, so yeah. So I started watching your videos about black culture. I'm biracial. That's cool. When did you start watching? Because I believe this is the first time I've ever seen you in my lives. You may have been on here before, and I don't recall your name. Um, Car- Carlin says AC dealing with Gen X, so tread carefully before you get roasted into oblivion. Yeah, I was being nice because I wanted. I was strained. I was trying to. I was trying to filter what I wanted to say because I gotta keep reminding myself as a YouTube partner now, and I'm monetized. I don't want to say something that gets me instantly demonetized. I want these videos when I when I upload them for replay to not get demonetized because unless I'm getting like constant super chats or but if I'm not getting a super thanks or a cash app, then I get paid through the monetization of the replay of the videos. So um I'm trying to be nice, but he was really asking for it or whatever. Ace is just probably some little 13-year-old 200-pound troll with a neck beard. But anyway, Carlin says violence was one of the chains was off the chain in ancient days. Look at the Roman Empire and their Colosseum days or the Dark Ages. Think the thing is, after the fall of the Roman Empire, that was the beginning of the Dark Ages, which some people don't like, so they just call it the early Middle Ages. Because you got three historical periods of the Middle Ages. You have the early Middle Ages, which is sometimes called the Dark Ages. I think it should be called the Dark Ages for a good it stands to good reason to call it the Dark Ages. Then there was the High Middle Ages. Then there was the Late Middle Ages. And if for Star Wars nerds, we know that they kind of break up the uh, the Galactic Republic in that same way too. You have the Old Republic, the High Republic, and then the Late Republic, or just the Republic. So, and then you have the New Republic for after Luke defeated the Emperor and Darth Vader. But whatever, I'm not going to go into Star Wars. What's up, Grayson? Oh, Robin says I'm a female. Oh, okay, I wasn't sure, so I didn't. I wasn't gonna use like gendered pronouns unless I knew what you were. Like, Robin says if you Google it, people all over the world, including atheists, are having these visions and dreams. It may be worth a Google search. Well, I mean, okay. So a couple of things about that. One is speaking as an atheist myself, I've never had those visions, and almost any atheist I know doesn't have apocalyptic visions because it's not part of their belief set, right? You're only gonna so even if someone is dealing with mental health problems, they're only gonna envision things that are already things that they genuinely believe. So if you don't act, so so for instance, a lot of people say they don't believe in ghosts, but then they see something weird at night, things going bump in the night, things that just pop into their vision, and they'll get afraid because the thing is a ghost, which means that they may sincerely avow that they don't believe in ghosts, then that may not be their genuine belief. Whereas I, who's a dyed in the wool skeptic, if I see something go bump in the night, I'm assuming it's either a person or an animal. And if I hear creaks and sounds, I just assume that's parts of the house, right? Or things from outside. I don't I don't automatically assume a supernatural explanation of it. So if someone's genuinely atheist, they're not going to have religious visions because that's not within their belief set. Um, that's one thing. Two, again, people who are mentally unstable might have very erratic thoughts and dreams and things of that nature. Just because they're having those doesn't mean so. Just because you have an experience of something that is extra scientific doesn't mean that the content of that experience itself is real. That gets again into the status of that person's mental health, because from the atheist perspective, or someone who's just of a scientific mind, of a scientific worldview, as I am, they're just going to say that's just psychological, right? And then the third thing is, as far as a Google search, the problem with a Google search is you can with a Google search you can confirm anything you want through a Google search. That's why it's not useful. You have to you have to know how to search search for things in an academic way, where you have to know how to you have to look you have to look for disconfirming evidence as well as confirming evidence. Most of the time, when people look up something of which they have interest, they only look up evidence to confirm the very thing in which they already believe. And through Google, you're going to find that. That doesn't mean that that thing is real. What what someone of a more skeptical mindset would do is they try to find disconfirming evidence to the thing that they believe, as well as the confirming evidence, and then they and then they weigh that evidence for and against, to whether whether they assent to that belief or not, if that makes sense. Like, so if you go to Google to find out, you know, does McDonald's burgers have worms, and you're gonna see a bunch of stuff on Reddit and Quora and stuff like that saying they do, by a bunch of little weirdos. Then you can go to other sites that say no, that's ridiculous, and then it it's incumbent on you to have enough background knowledge, which a lot of people don't, to then be able to weigh the claims for and against. Like, okay, the evidence for it is coming from a bunch of people who have no professional background in nutrition or health or working for McDonald's or anything else. They're just a bunch of random people online saying stuff. The people against it, that claim that they have worms in their burgers, are people who are actually, you know, nutritional experts, people who work in the biomedical field, people who know about the fast food industry, stuff like that. And it's like, okay, so where does the weight of the evidence fall better, right? So with experts or with a bunch of non-experts who might just have a personal bias against McDonald's food. So, Robin says it was a few months ago. May have not been on live. Oh, okay. No, I was on live a few months ago, but I don't see. Well, I do see most of the comments, unless it's a really busy live, which I do prefer. But most of my lives aren't busy, so I do catch most of the comments, and I'm pretty. I don't have like a eidetic memory, but I'm pretty good at remembering names when I see them reappear on my lives. Because I'm 51 years old. Oh wow, okay. What's up, Jay? Uh, Jay says, "What is this Cracker Barrel issue in the states? Is Cracker Barrel that good?" Okay, so first of all, I don't know what's going on. So conservatives are losing. This is how people, because people think I'm conservative and I'm not. I'm a classical liberal. But but the reason why people think I'm conservative is because classical liberals are now on the political right, and it's only because the people on the left pushed classical liberals to the right. We didn't move to the right. The left moved away from us and left us on the right. So I just want to make that clear because people always think I'm conservative and I'm not. But conservatives have been losing their shit collectively because the CEO of Cracker Barrel decided to remove the old man in the barrel from the Cracker Barrel logo. I don't know. I don't know why, but I know that the comedian and this guy who makes animation, and he's a comedian. He's an online comedian and does animation, named Ace Vane. He made a thing about the Cracker Barrel man, and it was hilarious. That was the first thing I saw today, and I was like, "Why is he doing this?" And then it later appeared in my news feed about people mad that that logo changed. I'm like, who cares? It's like if Toys R Us removed Jeffrey the giraffe. I'm like, I don't care. Like, actually, I probably would care as a kid, but anyway, um, is the food good? The food is tasty, but it's not. I mean, it's not nothing. The food isn't something you're gonna write home about. It's like any sort of like it's basically like a chain rest. It's like it's like it's like a chain diner type restaurant. It's like a diner restaurant you would find like on interstate highways, but it's like but it's like a chain restaurant. The food is tasty. It's it's affordable, so people love it. It's very beloved by working class folks. Why people are collectively losing their shit over this the old man and the logo being gone, I don't know, because I just wasn't interested enough to know why. But I've been laughing the whole day about it. uh, what's up, Moonlit? What's going on, brother? By the way, Moonlit, I still want to. So letting everyone know, I still want to come on to your stream, and we do. And I forgot what we were gonna. Oh, we talk about or you can come on here, either I come on your stream or you come on my live stream, and we were talking about the Thailand Cambodian conflict. I actually tried to get this Thai girl to come on as well, but she kind of changed her mind because she's embarrassed about her lack of English skills, and I'm like, that's not a big deal. But I, you know how it is in both Thailand and the Philippines. A lot of these girls, who can speak English fluently, but have strong accents, are very like, self conscious about how they sound when they speak English. So, but I do want to make that happen though. That we still talk about that because people don't know about these. People are so caught up with Israel and Gaza and Ukraine and Russia. They don't know about these skirmishes between Thailand and Cambodia, China and India, um, China and the Philippines, um, and and some other minor skirmishes going on around the world. But Ram says I was left with the mind of a child, but I have autism, which is my superpower, so to speak. Yeah, I mean, I deal with someone who I do life coaching for someone who has somewhat severe autism. I cannot really say it's a superpower because it definitely hampers her lifestyle, and it has gotten her very close to being locked up. And I and I've told her several times, if you weren't an Asian female, you would have been locked up for the stuff that you've done already. And she doesn't appreciate that because again, so yeah, yeah. She says, "Thank you, honey. Welcome." I didn't comment. I was just watching. Yeah, that's no problem. I know there's a lot. I know there's a lot more lurkers than people who actually talk. Like that's fine. Not everyone wants to talk. Some people just want to observe. That's perfectly fine. All I do is ask people like you don't have to say anything in the chat room if you don't want to, but I just ask everyone to leave a like. Leave a like if you can. Share the video. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Um, and for folks that and for folks who appreciate the content, or if I help them in some way with some sort of advice, I ask them to maybe leave me some sort of donation, either a super thanks or a cash app. Especially the guy from last year who was literally a millionaire, if I'm to believe him, whom I gave some advice about getting past a toxic relationship. And he said I helped him. So it would have been appreciative of him to leave me a donation in, insofar as that I helped him get past a toxic relationship and told him to hit the gym and do that to improve himself. It would have been nice of him to leave me some sort of donation. I'm not saying he need to leave me hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars. I'd have just appreciated $5. That's enough for me to get a $5 everyday meal from McDonald's. You know what I'm saying? Speaking of which, just got the new Happy Meal. Got the Ninja Turtles Hello Kitty mashup. So this one I got is the mashup of Hello Kitty and Raphael. Pretty cool. And it comes with a little online game too. And also from last month, they had the miniature McDonald's meals. So I got the miniature McBoo bucket, and at the end of September or early October, I'm going to get the new McBoo bucket because they've been doing them every year since I think 2022. They've brought them back consistently, consecutively since 2022. Like they've had a new version of it, so I want to get that one because I have a white McBoo bucket, but I want either orange. I want an orange one this year. And then I probably want a green one as well to get all three. Gotta collect them all. Pokemon, different franchise, but by the way, I did get my Pikachu Pokemon card from them too. So years ago. Elron says I can be shy to speak. Well, you're speaking now. And here's the thing: I would never roast anyone unless they come onto the chat room trying to roast me like that dude Acer did. You notice after I told him about how I dicked down his mom, he shut up. Right? He deserved that. But I don't disrespect anyone unless they come on into the chat room trying to be disrespectful to me or to the other members of the chat room. And even usually the first time they do it, I let it slide. I don't really say anything. I ignore it. But if it becomes continuous, then I'm either going to block them or roast them or both. So, and if Asa wants to keep on going, I can keep on rocking with it because obviously that little Gen Z uh, misfit doesn't know anything about Gen X. They don't know that we were literally go a whole day just roasting each other. A whole day. We used to have we used to have well, you know, Robin, you're 51. You know, black kids used to have competitions roasting each other. They're like actual competitions. So you might pull a girl by roasting people so bad. She says my family on both sides, black and white, are Democrats, and I'm the only conservative. Yeah, that can be hard. Yeah, I'm not conservative, but I'm probably the only one in my family's not Democrat. I'm an independent. Unfortunately, in a blue state like Maryland, independents get dunked on. Like we can't participate in primary elections, only general elections. So I well, that is what it is. Carlin says Cracker Barrel man removal. Yeah, telling you guys, if you never heard of Ace Vane, ACE Vane VANE, he is funny as I don't know what. He does a bunch of like animation, especially from stuff from like the 80s and the 70s, like stuff like Super Friends and stuff like that. And he, you know, does these humorous voiceovers. I mean, he did this voiceover for the Cracker Barrel man earlier this morning. It was like the first thing I saw. I was like, why is this the first thing I'm seeing when I open up my social media? And it was just hilarious. Like, it was funny. Jay says, don't let your Cracker Barrel turn into our Tim Hortons. I forgot what happened with Tim Hortons. I remember, like, I faintly recall the Tim Hortons debacle, but I can't really remember exactly what happened. Mona says it's a fancy Waffle House. Yeah, it's like a Waffle House where you don't have to fight. If not non-Americans won't get that moonlit, but the Waffle House is great if you know how to fight. If you know how to fight, Waffle House is for you. If you know MMA, Muay Thai, kickboxing, boxing, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you have a concealed carry weapon. Waffle House is a great place to go eat because you might be knuckling up for no reason whatsoever. The food is good, but you're gonna be paying for that food. I don't mean with money. Might cost you a tooth, might cost you an eye, might get a few bruised knuckles, but you're gonna pay. Cracker Barrel is a Waffle House without the violence, allegedly. Allegedly. Robin says, I'm very happy I found your page. Thank you. I appreciate it. Hope you subscribed. Jay says, the red country has conflict with every Asian country. No, you literally. So just like, how Western Europe formed the EU, um, centered around Germany and France, they were like the foundation of the EU. Southeast Asian nations did the same thing as a bulwark, against the big red country, right? They started ASEAN, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. They even have their own uh, international games every year, the ASEAN Games. And the two foundational nations of ASEAN was Thailand and Indonesia. China has territorial disputes with literally every country in Southeast Asia. And they're constantly bullying the Philippines. So much so that they're always beefing over the Scarborough Shoals and other parts of and other borders of maritime dispute. And it got so ridiculous last week that a that a PLA Navy vessel. PLA stands for the People's Liberation Army. That's the that is the name of their entire military. It's called the People's Liberation Army. So it's confusing to call it the PLA Navy, but so the PLA Navy vessel collided with a PLA coast Chinese Coast Guard ship while trying to intimidate a Philippine Coast Guard ship. They collided with each other because they were both heading towards the Scarborough Shoals to intimidate the Philippine Coast Guard ship that was monitoring monitoring the shoals. Those they collided with each other, and I know I made jokes as well as other people online saying, "Damn, they really can't drive, can they? They can't even steer ships." um, and it got what made it so funny is even though these two vessels were trying to intimidate the Philippine Coast Guard, after they collided with each other, the Philippine Coast Guard yelled out to them, um, over the over the air, "Do you guys need assistance? Do you request assistance? We can come help you." I'm like, that just shows how freaking nice Filipinos are. You got you got the Chinese military trying to intimidate them with both their Coast Guard and their Navy vessels that collide into each other because they're a bunch of dumbasses. And then the Philippines is like, "Hey, you need some help?" Yeah. True story, by the way. If you guys don't believe me, you can Google it right now or look it up on here on YouTube. It's hilarious. Shout out to the YouTube channel China Uncensored. Go check that channel out too if you are interested in the hijinks that goes on in Poolan. Rob says this helped me academically to make up for the fact that I'm a vulnerable adult. Mm, I get that. She says I accidentally went out of the chat. I pressed something. Sorry, no problem. People jump in and out of the chat. It happens. Even sometimes when you don't mean to, like you might click on something and it takes you out, then you can just jump right back in. Pause. So my mother was stressed out as a single divorcee. And it looked like and it looked like my white father. Oh, and I, she's saying I look like my white father, so she would lose her temper. It is bad when a parent takes something out on a child because they project what they feel about the other parent onto the child. That's very dysfunctional. Um, Robin says her mother was a concert pianist and intellectual, but her first white husband's family was in the KKK in Paradise, California, and made her have nervous breakdowns. Well, not to criticize your mom, but why was she even romantically involved with a white supremacist? That shows, if for her to be an intellectual, that shows bad decision making on her part. Rob said, "Yeah, my brothers and I still roast each other." Moonlit says, "I know it as fact." Yeah, he's talking about the collision of the two vessels, right? That was hilarious. Like, if I would have, like, if I didn't see that on actual news, I would have swore that was satire. I'm like, that did not really happen. But this shows why people should not be too intimidated by the Chinese military. Um, they have the largest standing army, but they are they are incompetently trained. I don't care what that shitty movie Wolf Warriors proclaims about Chinese special forces. Please, there right now there's some guys who play laser tag better the than the Chinese infantry. Like, please, like, and it's even worse. The Chinese citizens themselves have low have low regard towards the Chinese military, but that's for twofold reasons. One's that they don't consider them that competent, but also it's because uh, in Chinese society, they're still a very much of a scholarly prestige in being scholarly. That's one reason why they are so successful everywhere they go, is because they place high value on being educated and scholarly, which is going to help you pretty much anywhere you go. Like any culture that puts high value on education and hard work, such as you also see within um, Jewish culture as well, they're going to succeed pretty much anywhere they go. This is why you often see them, despite being put in the lower rank, lower social ranks in all these countries, they usually rise to the top because of their values, and they feel that niche as middlemen that sometimes the locals of those countries don't fulfill as well, including within other Asian nations. Robin says um, he was her college professor, so that sounds inappropriate. But wait, how is, again, that just sounds weird. How is someone who's a an alleged member of a white supremacy group a college professor? Not that it doesn't happen, but most Klansmen are not that erudite. Now there are clearly white supremacist people who have reached the upper echelons of academia. However, being that we know that academia is very left leaning, people in the fringe far right are not going to be often college professors. So that's pretty. That's gonna that's almost a unicorn to be a Klansman and a college professor, unless they went to Cracker University. I'm joking. I'm joking. Robinson's rebelling against his family. Melissa says, "Yep." Robin says, "Yeah, my ex-husband is Chinese first generation. He was he was not like his family. He was a liberal trying to fight for the plight of black people, rebelling against his family." Oh yeah, because there's a lot of anti-black racism in Chinese culture, especially with first generation uh, Chinese people who come here. Oh, I met her first white husband. Oh, okay. So she was married multiple times. Yeah, I was about to say a college professor and a Klansman. That doesn't happen too often. That's like uh that's like saying someone who's of a vegan uh a vegan fur trader. Like that just doesn't go together. Like a vegan fur trader? Like yeah. By the way, Raphael is my favorite turtle, so I was glad that I got Raphael because I did not know that I didn't know which one they were going to give me. I was happy to get either Raphael, Leonardo, or Michelangelo, but I don't like Donatello that much. He's like the turtle I can do without. Now, I like them all. All four of them I love collectively, but when it comes to individual turtles, Raphael has always been my favorite. Um, Plus, they got different versions. Like I also didn't want the version of Raphael where it was just Hello Kitty in white fur with his bandana and and arm and leg band. So I'm like, that's not really a mashup of turtle and kitty, but this is. Oh, and Moonlit, I got my fruit snacks. Got my fruit snacks. Robin says his father or grandmother was the Grand Wizard. Wow. Who wore a purple robe. My father, after that divorce, he was a hippie 12 years younger than her. How do they take themselves seriously wearing purple robes? Like you're looking like the Wizard of Oz. But like, and they like, how does that even conform to look? Because in his original context, the Klansmen were supposed to be the ghost of Confederate soldiers. That's what they were, how they were outfitting themselves to be the ghost. So how do you get to purple? Like, what what Confederate soldier was wearing purple? We gonna go down yonder to Antietam in our finest purples, and we gonna show them damn Yanks how we do these things here. Oh, I'm joking. Well, this is Casey Jones was sick in the cartoons. It's funny. So like the first movie, which I have on DVD here, so you guys my little stuff sometimes. I love showing my collectibles. Show you a little bit of my collectibles here. So that's my original Raphael. That's the Leonardo from the Nickelodeon version. I love that. I actually like that Nickelodeon version of the cartoon. Not the one that came out a few years ago. I'm talking about the one from like 2012. That one was good, and I liked the toys that came out for that. But yeah, what movie I was gonna show you guys? Oh, Ninja Turtles. So original Ninja Turtles from 1990, and you can see some other stuff here. My classic Toy Biz Marvel. The latest one is Daredevil from 1991, but no, 91 because 92, something like that, because the original line came out in 1990 after Toy Biz lost the license to the DC superheroes, so they switched to Marvel. That was their first line. Then they went with the X-Men afterwards. And this was the version one of Wolverine. They had like 5 versions of him. Then like in 92, they did the Daredevil. Got my Power Master Optimus Prime. I wanted him since 1988. Never got him. This version 2 of Snake Eyes, the most favorite version of him. I wanted him back in the day. Instead, I had version 3, which was kind of whack with the little silver on him. Grimlock, this the original, just like this original. Well, Power. These all G1 Transformers. Got my little Lego DC superheroes. Got my man Rick Grimes and his sheriff outfit. Classic Gumby. Little McDonald's Hot Wheels of the Joker Mobile and Batmobile from the animated series. Oh, and I got a for the Trekkies out there. That is a triple. If you're not a Trekkie, you don't know what a triple is. I got some of my little Happy Meal stuff right here. This is the newest one from the one I just was showing you guys about the mashup of Raphael and Hello Kitty. This is a Hulk from 1978. Still, and some stuff in the background. Got the Wolverine mint and card all the way in the back. If you can see that there. Got a Sigmund Freud action figure back there. Can't really see it. All the way up, I got 2 lightsabers, both Luke Skywalkers. There's the Anakin lightsaber that Luke was given by Obi-Wan, the blue one. Then there's the green one that he fashioned himself when he became a Jedi Knight. Got the Toy Biz Batmobile right here. This is the Power of the Force X-Wing fighter. It's not the original one from the 80s. It's the one from the 90s when they relaunched the line Powers of the Force. Of course, I got Toy Biz Batman right there. I had the Joker in there with them, so you can see that. Yeah. Just felt like showing off. But yeah. The W fruit snacks, damn right. But oh yeah, getting back to Casey Jones, because that's what we was talking about. it's funny. Like I love the guy who played Casey Jones in the movie. It's funny because now most people now know him from the CSI. No, no, not is it not? No, not CSI. What's the other one? Law and Order, right? I think he's on Law and Order, or was on Law and Order. I don't know because that show's been on like damn near 30 years. But most people know him from Law and Order. But when I see the guy, I always see him as Casey Jones from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. Carter says Ralph was the crash out of the Ninja Turtles. He was quick to slice on the ops, quick to slide on the ops. Well, yeah, yeah. Well, so Raphael and Leonardo, even in the comic books, had this like antagonistic relationship because Leonardo was the leader, but Raphael was the strongest of all the turtles, right? Although like now they've retconned it with the IDW, the Last Ronin, and made it that Michelangelo was the most talented out of all of them. So he was the one who survived after they were all murdered. But that's a retcon. But in most of the runnings of the Turtles, oh, speaking of that Nickelodeon series, uh, Pete was it Peter Laird, whatever one of the co-creators, it was two co-creators of Ninja Turtles. Um, I think it was Peter Laird said that the Nintendo, sorry, not Nintendo, the Nickelodeon version of the Turtles that came out in 2012, he said felt the closest to the the actual like mythos that he created for the Turtles compared to like previous iterations of the cartoons and the later iterations, which are just horrible. But he was saying the 2012 one was like the closest to like what how what how the Turtles was supposed to be in the comics. So that was kind of cool, which is probably why I enjoyed it so much as an adult because I didn't think when I used to see my niece and nephew watch it like 10 years ago that I would get into it. But I would catch them watching it and sometimes I watch it with them. I'm like, oh, this is kind of good. The same way I got into Teen Titans Go. I was like, this is goofy, but you sit there and watch stuff with the kids sometimes. You're like, oh, this shit is kind of good. I started getting into Teen Titans Go. Anyway, Raph did crash out sometimes. That wasn't why he was my favorite turtle though. He was my favorite turtle as a kid, well as a teenager because he was sarcastic. He was he was sarcastic and had a sardonic personality, and that attracted me because I myself was a sarcastic person. I often wasn't able to talk any sort of way to adults, of course, because I would get popped. So instead, I was just sarcastic all the time to adults. Oh, Robin says I have to go now, but I'll try to watch on your lives. Thank you, appreciate it. Like I said, if you haven't already, please subscribe. That way, you'll know when I'm going live. Although sometimes my lives I do impromptu, so it's usually gonna be at the same time of night, around 10 p.m. or so. So if you don't see a thing letting you know that I'm going live, just know that usually I go live at like somewhere between 9 and 10 p.m. Sometimes later, but try to around 10 at least. One says, yeah, Carlton, Leo, two for Splinter, Mikey was party animal, and Donnie was a tech guy, like if Data knew Kung Fu from Goonies. Well, he does in this new movie on, is it Prime Video? Whatever movie is Data knows martial arts now. He's a Robinson is so cool. I also love toys. Yeah, I love like stuff from my childhood. So so I mostly collect vintage toys, but sometimes I'll buy modern stuff, especially Happy Meal stuff. Or sometimes they release adult collectibles, which are like reissues of vintage stuff, or they'll make it instead of reissuing the make instead of them making a reissue of vintage stuff, sometimes they'll make a whole new version of it, which is more well articulated and the joints and stuff, that they're more posable, and they'll give them more like realistic facial features and stuff like that, and add extra things so they can charge you more, so they can charge you $50 for an action figure. Because this is why I haven't seen Gummy in years. I if I didn't have everything in my toy chest right now, and I will open that up and show that to you guys as well. But I don't feel like opening up my toy chest. But I'll show you some other stuff that I have already out, since I don't want to, just I don't feel like cracking open the toy chest because I got like a crate of books on top of it that's heavy, so I got to move all that stuff out the way. But here's some more stuff. This is my little Lego Star Wars land speeder. And you can see a little Pikachu and Snoopy. I got that from my mom when she worked for Social Security. Um, Here's some more stuff. Not a lot. Rubik's Cube. Still haven't solved it. And I've been trying the little algorithm to solve it. Classic Duncan yo-yo. Another little McDonald's Happy Meal toy. Just a random robot that I like. I got the original Crazy Phone. Guys, remember this? I got one of those. I got the Sith Luke Skywalker. This came out of the expanded universe comic books where he actually joined the dark side so he could learn how to master both the dark and the light in this comic book. He became uh, the apprentice to Darth Palpatine when Darth Palpatine came back to life, similar like in the movies. So they took that from the expanded universe when he cloned himself. So that actually does come from the expanded universe, but they butchered the story compared to how they did in the comics, which was better, I believe. That is the Luke from the sequel trilogy. I like the figure, even though I hate everything about the movies. That's a little Star Wars Happy Meal toy where you can view in the back. There's like a little view thing. I forgot what you call it, but you can look inside. This is a Diamond Select Toys version of Iron Man from the Civil War movie, and some of you might know Diamond, the toy and comic book behemoth Diamond went out of business, so this might be worth something. Although I took it out of the box. I have the Batman from the DC 1000 comics, issue 1000, made by what is the toy line? I would have a franchise with DC, but the guy who makes Spawn, I forgot his name, but he has his own toy line. So he made that. And I have a. This is actually it's a little dust here. Sorry, but this is an actual working bat signal that does actually light up. I have a little mini Lego Batwing here. Sorry, some of the stuff is dusty. Got a double bladed bat knife, battering knife. I have actual batarangs too. Some of you guys may have seen that. I have some Star Trek: The Next Generation, the vintage stuff from 1988, not the Playmate stuff that came out in the 90s. That's also considered vintage, but the Galoob came out the first year that the Next Generation series came out. So this is actually more vintage than the Playmates. This is the Galoob one. So I got Data, and I got Picard. In the back, I also have Riker. But the two favorites, the two most popular characters from the show was obviously uh, Picard and Data. I had Worf, but I took him back because I was like, I don't want Worf. And I got a few of my Funko Pops here. I got a Stanley, um, Spider-Man from Homecoming. Captain America from Endgame, Super Friends version of Batman, the Batman 1989 version, and behind here, you can't really see it, is the Bespin outfit Luke Skywalker from Empire Strikes Back and R2D2. Because wherever you have Luke, you got to have R2D2. Because wherever Luke goes, R2 goes with him. And that's kind of because R2 felt guilty about not being with Anakin when he fell to the dark side. So he always wanted, you notice he always didn't want to leave Luke. And I got a NECA uh, gizmo because I had to have a Mogwai. Mogwai! So, little Pikachu from also Happy Meal McDonald's and a Happy Meal Pokemon ball, Pokeball. But the rest of my stuff is in my toy chest and also in this. I got a few things in here too. But yeah, I'm a geek. Everyone knows by now. If you've watched my channel, I'm a geek and a nerd. Difference. Geeks love very niche things. Nerds are just people who love academic stuff. So I'm both geek and a nerd because, as you can see, where my toys are, I also got a bunch of textbooks. The Language of Thought by Jerry Fodor, very important for the beginnings of cognitive science. A Marvel encyclopedia. So I walk it like I talk it. So I want to even show you the little Asian stuff I have here. Little uh, lion. What do we call them? The mashup of the lion and serpent things. Part of my Gundam, the guy who comes with the Gundam. Still, as you can see, I've only got the head together. I haven't put together the whole body yet. Little Shaolin monks with my little uh, Buddha statue I got from Thailand. I had to bargain for this because they didn't want to give me that. Because this is the actual ones they use for ceremonial purposes that you'll see in most stores and homes. But usually the ones they sell to tourists are like not these. They try to sell you like the little, rinky dink things. But I was able to, you know, uh, negotiate and be like, can I please have the kind that you guys actually like use for ceremonial stuff? So they was like, okay. So they gave it to me. They realized I was gonna be respectful. Got a Maneki Neko cat, which is a lucky cat. Too much dust or he'll be waving right now. And the waving cat is both, you know, you'll see it in both Japanese and Chinese culture, but it started in Japan. That's why it's called the Maneki Neko cat. The lucky coins comes in 3 because that's a lucky number in China. My first, these are the 2 things I got when I first went to Japan. I was in Tokyo, so I got this little ninja keychain and a little miniature Japanese train piece. This I got here in America, the fat Buddha with a hote. He's actually he was actually a Buddhist monk that became deified as a god in Chinese folklore. Some stuff from the Philippines, a miniature uh, jeepney. You'll see jeepneys everywhere in the Philippines, and a slingshot. That's a thing you see in like a lot of Philippine tribal culture. This is just an artsy version. This is not the kind they will actually use. This is just like a artsy one. And I got some other stuff, a karambit from Indonesia, as well as the little plucky thing that makes noise here, a little instrument, and another little Buddha thing, but this is from a Balinese version. Little and some other stuff from Thailand, the little elephant and the prayer beads. Anyway, I know I went on a tangent. But yeah, Joseph, dude, I forgot Gumby. Gumby's a joint. And they got the whole series on Tubi for free. So I'm not being paid by Tubi, but I would say Tubi is a great streaming platform because it's completely free, and they have good stuff on there. I used to laugh at Tubi because I thought it had nothing but like a bunch of low budget films on there. They have quality stuff on Tubi. The only thing is, with licensing, they don't keep those things, so it may be on there for a certain amount of time and then it gets removed, and then it may come back. But they do keep a long. They have a large library of content on Tubi. They have Gumby on there. They have a bunch of classic stuff from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. If people want to check out like old stuff they like back in the day, like Knight Rider or Gumby or Transformers or G.I. Joe, He Man, all that stuff is on there, but it doesn't stay. So might be there one day and then the next month it'll be gone and be replaced with other stuff. But a large library of content. Because my big brother kept teasing me about it, so I donated them all. Now I regret it. I had Labyrinth action fig. They had action figures for the Labyrinth. I didn't know that. You remind me of the Babe. Who? The Babe with the power. What power? Anyway, and Wonder Woman and Superman toys. So the Batman, the Wonder Woman and Superman, were they from the DC superheroes line, the superpowers from the 80s, or was it which was made by Kenner, or did you have the one from Toy Biz, which was the DC superheroes, which launched with the Batman 1989 movie? Because they had what's confusing is Toy Biz used the same mold for their action figures that Kenner did, but the Kenner ones were noticeably different, although they had the same mold, and they're worth more on the in the toy market. Like if you actually go to eBay or other third party vendors, you'll see how much people are selling those old Kenner action figures. Robin says I love Superman. It's my favorite comic. Oh yeah, like bunch of comics. That this black box right here is a storage box of comic books. There's a whole bunch of comic books in this thing right here. This is a storage box for comic books. Sorry about how messy it is in here. Robin says to me, Jesus is quote unquote Superman, so it's so easy to fall in love with him. Well, yeah, I mean, so the original Superman mythos was like so he had like a sort of a baby Moses origin, but as an adult, as the tale was later told by other writers, from the original writers who were both Jewish, um, uh, Superman took on a sort of a Jesus parable, um, you know. But yeah, Melissa isn't knowing this half the battle. G.I. Joe. This is somebody Hulk W. Yeah, it's a real Gen Xers have collectibles. Yeah, I think a lot of Gen Xers, the largest, the the adult collectible market is primarily Gen Xers. It is mostly Gen Xers. Everyone from for folks who don't know what Gen X is, everyone from 1965 to 1980, that's Generation X. And I fall within the the micro generation, which are called Zennials. Zennials are people born between 1977 and 1983. They were also called the Star Wars generation. But Zennials are the youngest millennials. I mean, sorry, the oldest millennials and the youngest Gen Xers form sort of like a micro generation apart from their main cultural generations because they have more like socially they were more socially connected amongst each other than they were to their larger generational groups. They were called the Star Wars generation because from 77 to 83 was when the original trilogy came out. Excuse my voice, guys. I'm losing my voice. Carlos is what they did with April O'Neil character in the new Ninja Turtles movie was hilarious. Yeah, they basically made her a kid version of Lizzo. She was a teenage Lizzo. Like that made no sense. Like it's been a trend that was at the height of the height of DEI and woke culture was they were intentionally making female characters ugly in pop culture to reflect some of the people behind the scenes who are writers and stuff like that because they wanted to be seen in their own image. So you saw that in video games. Like in video games, the female characters start becoming ugly. Like why? Like that doesn't make that does who is that appealing to? Because most of the people primarily playing video games are young males and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Most of the fans again are young males, and the older males who watched it as kids themselves. It doesn't appeal to anyone making her first you race swap her, right? Then you make her a hipster. And then you make her obese. Like to whom is that appealing? Especially when you've seen the original cartoon or you read the original comics. Like I don't I hate the Michael Bay movies, but at least Megan Fox was more of an April O'Neil than some little fat black female teenager. Like that didn't make sense. And like even if you race swapped her, she didn't have to be a little fat sassy teenager. Like you could have made her like you could have made her black without doing that. Like they did that. They did that with Harlequin. If someone saw the new Prime Video series Batman: The Cape Crusader that came out last year, they made Harlequin into a fat Asian woman. I shit you not. They even turned they gender swapped the penguin. They turned the penguin into a fat female. Why do they have, like first of all, it just doesn't fit the story of making penguin a female. But then why does he also have the like yeah, I know he wasn't like the male penguin wasn't a shapely person either, but still. But Harlequin, why did you make Harlequin a, a fat Asian woman? That made no sense. You guys think I'm joking? Go to Prime Video because I think Batman: The Cape Crusader, even if you don't have a subscription, I think you can watch it for free because you know some of the content on Prime Video is free with ads. You can go in there. Harlequin is a fat Asian female. Harley. Yeah. But that again, this was at the this is when DEI and woke culture started to die. Like I think 2024 with the election of Trump signaled that American mainstream was tired of leftist leftist politics being pushed onto the mainstream. And so for them, they can't deal with this. So they think anything that they disagree with, they're just going to say is being fascist and authoritarian, where they don't realize that most of America is moderate. most people in America are political moderates. They don't like leftist ideology being pushed onto them. But yeah. He said Misty lets you keep them out. Pez knocks over all my stuff when I put it. Well, yeah, Misty doesn't come into my room that often, and when she does, she's either like she'll either jump onto the bed or just or lie on a rug. If she starts getting feisty, she would get put out. Like we don't even like her upstairs, so she knows to play her role uh carefully. Because I'm the only one that even allows her to come into my room anyway. No, No one else will let Misty come into their room, so she knows to tread lightly in my room. But she also know I'm the only one that will allow her, give her some grace to even come into my room, so she doesn't abuse it. But no, yeah, none of our cats have ever messed with the stuff in my room. Even when I had my little beta fish, I'm probably gonna get another one, but I'm gonna wait till I get back to the Philippines to buy another beta because I don't feel like buying one and buying some more lucky bamboo stalks because I had a bunch of lucky bamboo plants and I stuck them in the water for my beta. Um, but I'm gonna do all that when I go back overseas. I don't want to buy any more living things until I'm back over there. Although I am tempted to like collect one of those frogs or turtles I see outside. Yeah, that's cool. Carlin says next thing they'll make Laura Croft out of shit with purple hair. Uh, you have not you have not seen some of the conceptual art for the new Laura Croft, have you? I'll just leave it at that. Melissa says I like Laura Croft played by Danielle Brooks. Was that the newest one? The, the problem was the movie was dull. I watched it. Let's be let's be honest. The original Laura Croft movie with Angelina Jolie was good. Was the best probably they're gonna do because I think they are gonna do another remake. Well, I know they're remaking it. They're remaking the video game. I don't know if they're remaking another movie. They'll probably reboot it at some point. But so far, Angelina Jolie was the best one. But the sequel she did was trash. The first one she did was good. The second one, bleh. And then when they did the reboot with I guess Danielle Brooks, whoever she is, she's pretty, but the movie was boring. So what time is it, guys? 11. Yeah, 11:49. Yes, I'm tired. I'm surprised I stayed up. Yeah, I was out tired 2 hours ago. 3 hours ago I drank some coffee just to stay up because I was already tired by the time I got home. I went to get some groceries and um and then earlier I went to get a Happy Meal and hung out with my friend briefly. I really like this. This is so cool. Glad I got it. And you guys, you gonna see my McBoo bucket in October. My new McBoo bucket. I think I showed you guys my old one from last year on one of my streams, but you'll see my new one this year, assuming because they did say they were going to release another McBoo bucket. So they've been doing it since 2022. So that'll be 4 consecutive years of McBoo buckets. And I got my McNugget guy too. But anyway, I don't know. This is how Ask Me Anything Friday goes, right? Notice, I don't know if you guys ever noticed, but it says Men's Health. So very apropos for the Baltimore County Department of Health. Educate, advocate, link, treat. I'm a proponent of mental health treatment, not only because of my background in psychology, but because men's health is neglected, neglected by much of society. Like we're just supposed to be the workhorses, and then we get shat on by modern women. So, brothers, take care of your health, both your mental health and your physical health and your financial health and your social health. These are all aspects of health. If anyone's taking a health class, you know that health extends just beyond the medical. You got your psychological health, got your financial health, you have your social health. Okay. One says may or may not have rewatched Hackers a few hundred times because of Jelly's pixie cut, but she's been naked on. She's had more nudity on other stuff. I think I can't even remember if I only watched Hackers once. This was like a long time ago. I don't remember her being nude in it. I remember her being nude in other stuff. Melissa, yeah, Men's Health 100. Causes health is wealth in so many ways. Right. I feel fortunate, though I'm a brokey, that I'm of great health, that I can run 7 miles a day, because often as I run, I will see people who are walking with canes or in wheelchairs or morbidly obese. And the funny thing is, they will smile and cheer me on when I see them. Like the other day, I was running past this guy. He was a really big, he was, a rotund guy. He was like, "Yeah, man." He said, "Keep it up, keep going, good work." I was like, "Thank you." Like, generally take that as a compliment, because I see it as the fact that I'm able to do this when they can't. It 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 shows that I'm, you know, I won't say I'm giving back, but I'll say that it motivates others to do better as well. Or I saw an older lady that same day after I passed the rotund guy. Um, she's walking on a cane, older lady, and I steer around her like I do with everyone. I was like, "Hello, hi, how are you?" And she smiles, like, "Hi." Older black women are so nice to me. Just the young ones are mean to me, but whatever. Um, well, Joe says, any opinion on redistricting? Okay, my so I don't have very strong opinions on it, other than I just don't like gerrymandering at all. I hate when both sides do it. So whenever one side complains about it, they're clearly being hypocrites, because both Democrats and Republicans often gerrymander their districts to stay in power. So Democrats get mad because Texas Republicans are redistricting um, their state. I don't feel bad, because then they say, well, so since Gavin Newsom, who looks like a used car salesman, but anyway, uh, and he's going to run for office, right? I guarantee both Gavin Newsom and Wes Moore, the governor of Maryland, I bet you they're going. I guarantee in 2028 they're both going to run for office, for presidential office. Watch. But anyway, so he's acting like, well, if Texas is going to do that, then California is going to do it too. Like, so what? it, I don't like. I don't like gerrymandering. I think it, because I'm an independent and I'm nonpartisan. So the way I see it is that it disenfranchises the voters of those districts, because if you can just, like, and did you see the gerrymander will look so ridiculous. Like, some of these districts literally look like pretzels, like look like the shape of pretzels, because they're so, it's so tortured how they gerrymander these districts. And like I said, I hate it when both Republicans and Democrats do it. I show no favoritism to either side. My problem with it is that it disenfranchises the voters of those very districts. Like, if a majority of people in a certain locus are mostly Republican, then let it stand as it may. Vice versa, if a locus of people in a region are Democrats, let it stand as it may. But for you to, like, just redraw the lines to make sure your people stay in power disenfranchises those voters. And when you wonder why there's so much voter apathy, this is why. When you can gerrymander districts so that you can undermine the very people living in those areas, so that you can keep people in power, what makes you, what what motivation does that give to those people to continue voting, right? Similarly to the DNC, when the DNC runs this, has a president who decides not to run to run again for office, like Biden, because of his mental decline, then you owe it upon those Democrat voters for there to be a primary so they can pick the candidate that they want to run in their president's stead. But no, instead you just give the torch to the vice president. Say no, she's going to be the torch bearer. The people didn't select that. They was like, oh, well, there was no time to do a primary. Yes, there was. You can do a primary within 2 months. Like, American elections are just ridiculous. You don't need 2 years for an election. It takes 2 months to do both a primary and a general election, like some countries do. Also, they've been disenfranchising voters for the past 10 years. Like, to be, let's be completely blunt. The DNC hasn't let the voters actually select their own candidates since President Barack Obama. Because back in 2015, 2016, when Hillary was running against Bernie Sanders was the clear favorite. But then when you look at all the leaked emails and stuff like that, the DNC made it evidently clear that they were not going to let Bernie uh, become the presidential candidate for the Democrats. Like, in the leaked emails, they literally said that even if he wins the primary, they were not going to allow him to be the candidate. Which, if that is the case, then what is even the point of having a primary election? You might as well just go back to the old days of having a party, of doing it behind the scenes, where they have the party boss select the candidate, um, and then they run that person like they did back 100 years ago. You might as well go back to that, because it's fugazi to sit there and make people come out to these primary elections to pick the candidate whom they want, and then still say, well, we're not going to let that person run, because they're still mad about the 80s when they ran a progressive candidate and then he lost to Reagan. Like, Mondale, well, I think his name was Walter Mondale. So they're still mad about that, saying we will never again allow a populist candidate to be the the uh, the Democratic candidate, because they can't, because they think that a populist candidate can't win a general election, which is just that's just absurd. And so Hillary undermined Bernie, and then when he ran again in 2020, he was leading again in the primaries. And so the DNC got all the candidates to step down and throw their votes to Biden so that he will win, just to make sure that Bernie didn't win. So they undermined Bernie twice, even though he was the clear favorite. And in 2016, he most likely would have beat Trump. On top of that, he was poised to beat Hillary in the primary election. There's some underhanded stuff going on through the leaked emails that they showed later. At least they didn't do anything underhanded in the 2020 election, but still, I think it was kind of messed up that all these candidates, suddenly gave up just so they could throw their their votes to Biden to beat Bernie. Not to mention that little that coon, that Reverend congressional member from South Carolina, who basically anointed Biden. Like, I just hate black boomers. But anyway, um, sorry, I'm getting worked up. But yeah, they undermine Bernie. A lot of Bernie bros like myself became Trump supporters. So when people wonder, because if you look at my content from 3 years ago, clearly I was a progressive Um, and I'm not unique in the fashion that I was a progressive Bernie bro who became a Trump supporter because of the stuff the DNC did. Um, but again, getting back to Joe's original question, yeah, I don't like gerrymandering because I think it undermines the voters of the original districts when they're redrawn, regardless of who those voters are: Republican, Democrat, Independent, Libertarian, Green Party, whatever. Like whatever that district is, and the voters within those districts, let it stand as it may. That's how I see it. I hate when both parties pull that redistricting crap. I think it undermines the voters, and it is the. I hate how politicians complain about low voter apathy when they create the very thing of which they complain. On top of that, they factor in voter apathy into how people will vote. So they actually, so not only are they disingenuous and complaining about the very voter apathy that they create, they actually count on the voter apathy in their calculus to winning an election. So this is why a lot of people like myself are politically apathetic. Carlin says Newsom looks like the Max Headroom character from MTV. Remember him? Yep. Hi, are you doing? Max Headroom. Yeah, I remember that. That was so weird. And it wasn't until like a few years ago that I found out that that was actually filmed with an actual human actor, and then they digitized his appearance. I didn't know that was. I thought that was all. Uh, I thought that was all digital graphics at the time. I didn't know that that was actually they actually used the actual actor to which they then digitized his image to create Max Headroom. Anyway, guys, I'm about to go unless anyone else has some other comments. I'm gonna chomp down on these fruit snacks and I think I'm gonna finish watching Andor. I might talk about it in another stream, but I on the second look, the final season of Andor is actually pretty freaking good. I didn't realize it was gonna be good. I thought it was whack because when I first watched it, it was boring. And then when I watched it and actually sat my phone down, didn't like wasn't looking at my phone, turned the volume up, I was like, damn, Andor, this the final season of Andor is really good. And it actually talks about the the Gorman massacre, which was mentioned in the Clone Wars series. If people ever watched the animated Clone Wars series, they talked about the Gorman massacre. So they actually shows what happens with the Gorman massacre. Even more, even even more cool about that is that the showrunner behind Andor, like this is an adult Star Wars. Like this is like not that goofy stuff like Ahsoka or that that High Republic crap that they made with, with anyway with the the Sith witches and all this. No, with the Force witches. Sorry, but the Andor is good. Like so, in this final season, when it's showing, it's going to lead up to the Gorman massacre, and the Gormans, like the whole plight of the Gorman thing, is actually modeled on the French resistance of the 18th century. So it's actually modeled on the French resistance. Not only that, they're actually speaking in a francophone language. Like they're using a made up language, but they're using all French speakers in this made up language. So it sounds like French to remind you that this is supposed to be an analog to the French resistance of the 18th century, which leads to this bloody massacre, which was referenced in in the Clone Wars and in the expanded universe books. So if anyone's a Star Wars nerd, I do recommend Andor. It's the only thing Rogue One and Andor in the first two seasons of Mandalorian, the only thing Disney did really well with Star Wars. Not to mention their comic books they ran from like they started from like 2012 to about 2019. Everything after that is trash. But the comics from 2012 to about 2019 and Andor, the first two seasons of Mandalorian, not the third one. That shit was trash. The first two seasons and Rogue One. That Disney actually did that stuff well. One of the reasons I think Rogue One was so good was because the guy was trying to make sure that it was something that Lucas himself would have liked. George Lucas gave him a verbal approval of what he did with Rogue One. He told him it was good, but he tried to stay out of it because after he realized after he mentioned his disapproval of Force Awakens, and he decided to not publicly state what he thought about the sequel trilogy. But he's openly said he didn't like Force Awakens, that it was unoriginal, that they were just recreating what he did with A New Hope. But he noticeably told the director of Rogue One that it was really good, and he told the director. I think another thing was the filmmaker was inspired by George Lucas because George Lucas told the filmmaker behind Rogue One, he said, "Remember, Star Wars is for 12-year-old boys." And I was like, too bad Disney didn't remember that. But the filmmaker behind Rogue One listened to George Lucas. He's like, remember, at the end of the day, Star Wars is for 12-year-old boys. So yeah. Joe Kinsey says, I'm in California. I'm not a fan of Newsom. uh, I know you're more of a moderate conservative bent, Joe, so I knew you probably would be a fan of Gavin Newsom. Like I said, he looks like a used car salesman. Like he just looks like a sleazeball. And he doesn't look trustworthy. And I think he's disingenuous. I mean, you could probably say it about any politician, but nah. Like, why does he look like George? Who was this? Who was that actor from like the 70s and 80s who had this very tanned and leathery appearance? I forgot his name. Something Hamill, not Mark Hamill. Um, Hamill something. I don't remember, but he just has this greaseball appearance. I don't like him. Plus, I don't like his politics. And now I see him trying to cuddle. He's trying to he's trying to he's trying to appear more moderate in social media right now. Like he's trying to do his own little podcast thing because the Democrats are saying we need our version of Joe Rogan. Newsflash, Democrats, Joe Rogan was on your side. Most of the biggest voices for Trump were all on the left. Joe Rogan was a Bernie bro, like I was. Joe Rogan was a was a large advocate of Bernie. He was a Bernie bro Democrat back in the day. Elon Musk, he's always been a libertarian, but he was more aligned with the left originally. The the left keeps pushing people away because they want to make everyone like pass some sort of leftist purity test, and so they keep pushing people away from them. It's not that they don't have they they are missing these folks on the left. It's that they push those people away from the left. All these people were on the left. Joe Rogan was on the left. Elon Musk was on the left. Remember, it was liberals and progressives who used to love Tesla back in the day. It was the Republicans who hated Tesla 10 years ago. I'm pretty sure some people remember that. Tesla was beloved by leftists and liberals and progressives because it was an electronic car, so good for the environment. A big thing on the left, environmentalism. SpaceX. I mean, a lot of us, love, space exploration on both sides of the aisle. Where on both sides of the aisle, you also have people who think it's a waste of money. But I'll say this: space exploration often leads to a lot of uh, technology that becomes commercially available to us. So, Joe, Joe says old school Dems don't recognize this party. Exactly. This is the Democrats of today are not the ones back from '95. Like in '95, it was the Republicans who were seen as aloof and elitist. Now it's the Democrats. The Democrats used to be party of the working class. Now is the now they're the elitists. Like when I first became politically active, I was a Republican, but I was a liberal Republican. Back then, back then that wasn't a contradiction in terms because you did have liberal Republicans back in the '90s and even the early 2000s. I think even Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks said he started off as a liberal Republican. Then I switched to Green Party because I liked Ralph Nader. So I even still follow his group Public Citizen. So I switched. I went from liberal Republican to progressive Green because of I like Ralph Nader. But I switched off because I realized outside of Ralph Nader, I really didn't care for the Green Party that much. It was a little bit too leftist for me, and so then I became a registered Democrat. And the only reason I did because originally I was going to be an independent, but I thought it was better to actually be a part of a party so that I could be a part of the both the primary and general elections. But then afterwards I was like, I don't care about the elections anymore. I'm gonna be an independent because I don't like being partisan because I don't think you can be. And there's no slight to anyone who's either Democrat or Republican, but I just don't think. I think it's very difficult to be both partisan and think critically on socio-political issues because both parties have an ideology and a narrative they want to push, and to embrace those parties often means to consciously or maybe even unconsciously accept those narratives that they push. So um, that's why I'm against it. Anyway, I'm gonna stop gabbing so I can let my voice heal. Hopefully, these fruit snacks will help. But if you guys do want to see more of my collectibles, I will pull out the toy chest if you guys want. I do have older videos where I show that stuff because I used to have them on the bookshelf up here, but I took that stuff off because the shelves were actually starting to collapse because the shelves are really. This was some like IKEA cheap IKEA bookshelves, but they're from like I literally put these together like 25 years ago, so they're starting to fall apart. They're not like you know something that of like sturdy structure. So they're starting to come apart. So I took all this heavy stuff off. I had a lot of books on there too, so I had to put a lot of my books in boxes, stuck my toys in a toy chest, and I got some book, and I still have some toys and books overseas in my house in the Philippines as well. So a lot of so not as much though, just a few things, but the majority of my collectibles are here. There's just a few things I have over there, like my Empire Strikes Back Star Wars Lego set with when um Han Solo was put into the frozen carbonate. Is it join the American Party? Aloha. Uh, isn't that no? So I'm confusing that with the Conservative Party because some people don't know there's a party called the Conservative Party, which is to which is even more to the right than the Republicans. I think they're called the Conservative Party. There's a lot of uh, third parties out there, but let's be honest, most of them don't have a chance in hell. The the only two third parties that ever get any sort of traction is the Libertarian Party and the Green Party. All the other ones out there don't have a chance in hell. So they're I mean, I don't want to say they're wasted votes because I think you should vote your conscience, but at the end of the day, you have to be pragmatic as well. Like if you're gonna vote for someone who doesn't have a chance in hell of voting, I mean of winning, it is a waste of vote. Plus, I mean, if unless you can, that they can get enough votes that they can at least get uh recognized on the ballot is not even worth it. because there's a bunch of third parties, and they're so tiny, they're not even gonna get on the ballots. So toy Chester show. All right, I might do that. But I'll just have to move some stuff out of the way. A lot of stuff though isn't new, so it'll be stuff that I've shown before. But since that was like 2.5 years ago, a lot of people probably never seen this stuff, even though I've shown it a couple of times on older videos, which you guys can check out. I have those older videos still in my library of content on this channel, where I show a lot of my collectibles that I've now put in the chest. There's some newer stuff in there though, but not that much. Like, a few new things like the Remco Karate Kid and like the vintage Karate Kid figure, and still got the little chopping action works. And some other stuff. And I'm still collecting. I haven't stopped collecting yet. There's still a bunch of stuff on my wish list to get. But yeah, I might show that stuff later. But anyway, I'm out. My voice is killing me. But thanks, Joe, and everyone who showed up. Hopefully tomorrow I can get Micah on. I want her to give a thanks to everyone that helped her out. So hopefully she'll be able to do it. She was gonna come tonight, but she said I had to wait for her to get home, and I wasn't just gonna stay up all night for her to get home because over there, it's the afternoon, but here's midnight, so no thanks. She'll have to make it a better hour. But till then, guys, peace out.